Hello, my dear friends, how are you? Whatever status we have got in the society, and to what extent the people in the society are liking us, cooperating with us, complying up to an extent with us, it all depends on one thing, and that one thing is called communication. Communication, communication, and communication. The better communicator we are, the better chances we have got in the society. And keeping in view all that, it is more important to have a better communication. Also, some of the people say that all problems are communication problems. Whether we agree with it or not, but one thing is very clear, that communication matters and matters a lot really. If this be the case, why not to pay huge attention to our communication and to be able to understand what is good in our communication and what is not good in our communication, what needs to be corrected, how to prevent the communication mistakes, what are the consequences of the miscommunications. So let's begin all that. Certain segments of our today's discussion. First of all, it is what are the communication mistakes, and then what are the common communication mistakes, and then after that, what are the consequences of communication mistakes. Now, at fourth, we will talk about how to prevent the communication mistakes, and at the end, we will speak about how to correct the communication mistakes which has already happened. Let's begin the first segment of it, and that is what are the communication mistakes. These are five in number. First of all, it is mis mis misinterpretation, and it is misunderstanding the intended meaning of someone. Misunderstanding the intended meaning of somebody, that is called misinterpretation, and it is a communication mistake. The second communication mistake is miscommunication, and it is conveying incorrect or incomplete information. Conveying incorrect or incomplete information, that is called miscommunication. The third communication mistake is non-verbal miscommunication, and it is misinterpreting or ignoring non-verbal cues. Ignoring or misinterpreting non-verbal cues like body language, like tone of the voice. So that is the non-verbal miscommunication. The fourth communication mistake is cultural miscommunication. And cultural miscommunication is failing to consider failing to consider cultural differences in communication styles. Like, suppose that I am a Punjabi speaking and I travel to a Pashto speaking areas. There is a difference in the culture. Although the two of these are adjacent to each other, although the two of these are not far away from each other, but if I travel to suppose like the Eastern Europe, Western Europe, United States of America, North America, Latin America, obviously there are even bigger cultural differences. And it the miscommunication also happens because of the cultural miscommunication. It is the fourth type of miscommunication. And the fifth type of the miscommunication is the technical miscommunication. And it is like issues with the technology, such as poor internet connectivity or poor audio quality. Poor internet connectivity or poor audio quality. If at all the video quality is poor, we will not be able to better pick the body language, the non-verbal cues. And it is, my dear friends and fellows, five types of communication mistakes. Now, some of the communication mistakes are very, very common. So, let's talk about these. Out of all those five, there are maybe 50, but we are going to take the five very common communication mistakes. And the first one is because of not actively listening, not listening actively. And it is failing to pay attention or are interrupting. Failing to pay attention or interrupting, that is not actively listening. When somebody is talking to us, we need to pay our full attention, uninterrupted attention to that particular person. So that is, not actively listening is the one common mistake. The second common mistake is using jargon or technical language terms. Using jargon or technical language terms. So that is not to use the technical language, use the simple language, and not to use the jargon at all. So it is the other common communication miscommunication. The third common miscommunication is being vague or being unclear. Being vague, being unclear, and failing to provide specific details or the right context. Failing to provide specific details are the right context, and that creates being a vague or unclear communication. Now the fourth type of common miscommunication is not considering the audience. Not considering the audience. Failing to tailor the message. Failing to tailor the message to recipients needs. Failing to tailor the message. Failing to tailor the message to the recipient's needs. So that is not considering the audience. The fifth and the last type of very common mistake is that is not asking for clarification. Not asking for clarification, and it is assuming understanding without verification. Assuming or understanding without the verification, that is not asking for clarification. Not asking for clarification. So that is assuming understanding without verification. So these are the five types of very, very common communication mistakes, miscommunication. Now, moving to the next segment, and it says that what are the consequences of miscommunication? The consequences of miscommunication are five and four in number. The first one is misunderstandings. Misunderstanding, and it is misunderstandings leading to errors, leading to errors, leading to conflicts, and leading to missed opportunities. The first consequence of miscommunication is the first consequence of the miscommunication is misunderstanding between the two people, and leading to errors, leading to conflicts, and leading to the missed opportunities as well. So that is the first very common consequence, and it is called, misunderstanding. Now the second very common consequence of the miscommunication is damage to relationships. Yes, damage to relationships, and by eroding trust, causing frustration, or creating tension. Damage to relationships is the second consequence of miscommunication. Eroding trust. The trust has been eroded, causing frustration. It has caused frustration, and it has created the tension as well. So, that is the second type of damage to the relationships. The third type of the damage to the third consequence of the third consequence of what of miscommunication is inefficiency, and it is wasting time, wasting resources, or wasting the efforts due to miscommunication. It is the third very common and a big or a major consequence of miscommunication. It is called inefficiency, wastage of time, resources, or effort due to miscommunication. The fourth and the last consequence of miscommunication is that it is the it is the loss of credibility. The loss of credibility, undermining your reputation or undermining your authority as well. It is the loss of credibility because as a consequence of miscommunication, loss of credibility. Then we spoke about the five communication mistakes. We talked about the five very common. Those first five, it creates 50 type of miscommunication, but five of those are very very common. Then we talked about the consequences, which are four in number. Now we are going to talk about how to prevent the miscommunication, and there are five ways to prevent the miscommunication. The point number one is practice active listening. Practice active listening. That is how we can prevent the miscommunication. Pay attention, ask questions, and clarify. Pay attention, ask questions, and clarify. This is the first way to prevent the communication mistakes, and it is active listening. Now, the second way to protect prevent the miscommunication, it is be clear and be concise. Clarity on the one hand, and being concise on the other hand. Use simple language, provide context, and avoid jargon. Be clear and concise, use simple language, provide context, and avoid the jargon. That is the second way to prevent the miscommunication. Now, the third way to prevent the miscommunication, it is consider your audience. Consider your audience, and it is consider your audience. It is tailor your message to their needs, tailor their message to their needs, tailor your message to the level of their understanding and cultural backgrounds as well. Tailor your message to their needs and to the level of their understanding. If at all there is a student of primary, you can't teach them the lesson of in the kindergarten. You can't teach what is going on in the university, and it is the level of understanding and cultural background as well. So that is the third way to prevent the miscommunication, and the third way is called consider the audience. The fourth way to prevent the communication mistakes, it is ask for the feedback. Asking for the feedback, it is verify understanding, encourage questions, verify understandings, encourage questions, and be open to correction as well. verify understanding, encourage questions, and be open to correction. That is asking for the feedback. Asking for the feedback is the fourth way to prevent the communication mistake. Now, the fifth and the last way to prevent the communication mistake, it is use multiple communication channels. Using of multiple communication channels, and it is like combine verbal and non-verbal cues. Combine verbal and non-verbal cues, and leverage technology as well to facilitate communication. Very good. Using multiple communication channels, like combining verbal and non-verbal cues, and leverage of technology to facilitate the communication. So that is the five ways to prevent the communication mistakes. Now, the last segment of our today's talk is, if at all the miscommunication has taken place, how can we correct it? How can we correct it? That is the last segment of our today's discussion, and it is correcting the communication mistakes. Number one, the first way to correct the communication mistake is acknowledge the mistake. Acknowledge the mistake. That is the first thing. And recognize and accept the responsibility. Recognizing. So, the first way to correct the miscommunication is recognize, that is, acknowledge the mistake, recognize, and accept responsibility. Now, the second way to correct the communication mistake, the first is acknowledge the mistake, recognize and accept responsibility. The second is apologize sincerely. Apologize sincerely and show empathy, show regret, and commitment to improvement. That is, apologize sincerely. We are not so used to of it, but it is very, very important. All the five. Yeah, the first is acknowledging, and second is apologizing, and show empathy, regret, and communicate commitment to improvement. The third way to correct the communication mistake is clarify and correct. Clarify and correct. It is provide accurate information and ensure understanding as well. Clarify and correct. The third way to correct the miscommunication. Provide accurate informations and ensure understanding as well. Now, the fourth way and the last way to correct the miscommunication, it is learn from mistakes. Learning from the mistakes. And how to learn from the mistakes, reflect on what went wrong. Reflect on what went wrong and adjust your communication approach as well. Reflect on what went wrong and adjust your communication approach as well. So, these are the four ways to correct our miscommunication. So, let's have a very, very quick revision of all that. And what is the, to begin with, the types of communication: misinterpretation, number one; miscommunication, number two; non-verbal miscommunication, number three; cultural miscommunication, number four; and technical miscommunication, number five. So these are the five types, not the five miscommunication. The five types of miscommunication, and out of these five types, there may emerge even a 50 types of miscommunication, but five of those are very, very common indeed. And we are going to talk about all those five which are very common miscommunications. Number one, it is the not actively listening. Number two, it is using jargon or technical language, technical terms. Number three, it is the being vague or unclear. Number four, it is not considering the audience. And number five, it is not asking the clarification. So these are the five, the five types of miscommunication, then the five very common miscommunication. Now we are going to talk about the five consequences. The consequences of miscommunication. Number one, it is the misunderstanding, and the number two, it is the damage to relationships. Number three, it is inefficiency and wastage of resources, time, and effort. The fourth and the last is loss of credibility and undermining your reputation or authority. Now, the next segment is preventing miscommunication, preventing communication mistakes. And there are five ways to prevent the miscommunication. The number one is practice active listening, practicing active listening. The second is be clear and concise. The third is consider your audience, and the fourth is ask for the feedback. The fifth and the last is use multiple communication channels. So these are the five ways to prevent the miscommunication. At the end of our talk, we are going to say the way to correct, how to correct the miscommunication. And there are four ways to correct the miscommunication. Number one, it is acknowledge the mistake. Number two, it is apologize sincerely. Number three, it is clarify and correct. And number four, it is that learn from the mistakes. So these are the four ways to correct the communication miscommunication or the mistakes of communication. Now, let's wrap it up by being aware of these common communication mistakes. By being aware of these very common communication mistakes, you can take steps to prevent them. We can take steps to prevent them when they occur and improve your overall communication skills as well. So, that was a highly important, very beneficial indeed. If at all we want to improve our communication, and let me repeat that it is the communication actually, the better communicator we are, the better place we can get in the society, the better relationships we can enjoy, and in every sense, I think that we can become a prominent person, we can become even a leader. And it is the communication because all what we want to get from the other people, all what we want to get from the other people, the kind of cooperation we are seeking from other people, all of that depend upon one thing, and this one thing is communication. And maybe someone says either totally correct or up to great extent correct, and it is the all problems are communication problems. So I think if at all we are better able to communicate with each other, it will be a much better society. At least we will be able to enjoy much better relationships and quite a honorable place in the society as well.